Hi y'all, I just wanted to check in and do a little mid-month reading for the Equinox, and because we're about to enter a new season, and the fall tends to be for a lot of people a very reclusive time, could be a little bit heavy. I know for me historically it's usually a heavy ass month, so I decided to put actual words to the draw that I had done for the month. So I found it really interesting and actually not interesting at all because this happens all the time. But I actually drew three of the same cards for this reading that I had drawn for the month of September. So no surprise there. Surprise, surprise. Um, right away, we are looking again at Temperance, which Temperance, the Queen of Swords, and the Page in that order were the cards that I pulled for the month of September. So now we're getting to look at what's underneath them. As a little refresher from last time, remembering Temperance at her core has to do with being in this co-creative alignment relationship with source. What does that mean? Well, it could mean a lot of things, but if you want to keep it really short and pretty, it means that we don't try to force a situation. We don't try to really undo ourselves mentally trying to figure out what the plan is. The thing about the plan is the divine plan. It's in divine timing. It's in the hands of divine. Our tiny little human minds are incapable of grasping the immense complexity and intricacies of the universe. So, the more that we get caught up in that need to figure it out, to pick it apart, we really separate ourselves from that energy and we create less of a channel for it to come in the many mysterious ways that it's meant to be. And I think the Queen of Swords really, really does echo that as well, because she's reminding us that part of having intelligent boundaries with ourselves is really looking at what are we allowing our brain to take us into? What are we allowing to take space within the sacred container that is our mind? She's also a beautiful, beautiful invitation to really acknowledge when we may be not fortifying ourselves in the sense of how are we letting information come into our headspace. And it's almost like, in a sense, a little sister of the high priestess, in that sense of that gatekeeping kind of element to it, because ultimately when we recall, the Page was here to be our ally, helping us move forward. And the Page, I couldn't think of a better card moving into the fall, because we're going into the season where we're being asked to really go take that inward journey, and the Page is really doing that as well. And the question isn't whether we do it or not, it's how engaged are we going to be actively with that process. Are we taking time to really dive deep within that, to really get to the bottom of those core wounds, triggers, the old stories, the narratives? Are we allowing ourselves adequate space and providing ourselves with the tools that we need to really hold ourselves and to be able to support us as we do a lot of this deeper, more, I guess you could call it shadow work. I call it soul work, shadow work, whatever the hell. the heavy shit, basically. So when we look at those being the surface layer right there, now we're going to look at what's underneath it. Underneath Temperance, we see the Tower. Underneath the Queen of Swords, we see the Eight of Cups. And underneath the Page of Cups, we see the Seven of Pentacles. So what that means is that as far as the Tower goes, it in this way, I am getting that it has to do with sometimes we are being presented with new pieces of information, whether it is from our uncovering that we're doing by diving deep within that chalice to see what is there and what's coming up for us, may be really at odds with what we have built to be our perception of the world, and it's causing so much internal chaos and like dissonance. And even though it's like knocking at our door, like we're seeing it right there, and we're like, nah, I can't look at that because it's gonna affect and endanger the structure of my tower. The thing is, though, like in order to truly be able to create a tower with a stable foundation, we have to let that come in. We have to let go of whatever we had built in its place. As hard as we want to hold on to that, it does us no good, because ultimately the structure has to come crumbling down. And in that process, it could be chaotic as fuck. It could be painful. It can really bring up so much for us. But in the falling of that tower, it brings so much illumination and clarity back into you, back into our lives. And that whole process can be very fucking terrifying, because sure, like here we had a beautiful structure that was, yeah, beautifully flawed. And the just entertaining the headspace of knowing that maybe you've been presented with this new piece of evidence that is going to completely radically shift and endanger that, is going to really put you in a difficult spot. And it's almost like you're having to walk away from something that was so fucking good on the outside, yet inside you were already feeling it. You're feeling that the soul was craving something different, something that is gonna bring about expansion. But first there has to be a major contraction. Like think of like a sun exploding. It goes in and then it's like that kind of deal. And then like keep looking at the page as well. It's like you see the Seven of Pentacles within it, like beneath that. And what does that like tell us? It tells us that we need to make sure that we are not trying to rush the process. We are allowing ourselves the adequate amount of time for our fruit to really develop and grow. Soul work isn't something that has really an ending. It's an ongoing process, and you don't really want to like harvest it before it's ready to come out. And that's really the keynote of this card. Justice is at a deeper level part of the invitation of what we can lean on to move through that. And justice is really asking us to look at what is. If you hop over to the other side, we have the Seven of Wands. And this is just to remind us that when we have these tower experiences where we have everything that we've known essentially just come crumbling down around us, we can become very defensive. We can become very guarded. At the same time, that creates this element within our mind that isn't necessarily reflective of our deeper truth. It's in a sense looking at the world through this lens of uncertainty, of insecurity, and all of that really closes us off from being again in that co-creative relationship with source, and it prevents the flow of things that are trying to get to us from reaching us. And that in itself is something that we're trying to avoid. So how can we continue to do this deeper soul level work when it's so exhausting, it's so tiring? We spend so much fucking time and energy having to do that, and it's much easier to deflect, to distract, to project, to do anything aside from the actual work. And this card, when it comes up, it's to remind us that we always have the option to rest as we go. Like, go deep. When you feel like you're about to drown, come up for air real quick. Come get a deep breath and take whatever time you need to really recover, to get back to whatever your baseline is, so that from that space you're more better able to look at what's here right now, to be able to notice how you taking the time to cultivate this, taking the time to do this work, is on an energetic level rippling outward and affecting much larger systems. And that will give you the, not the courage, but it'll give you the feedback that you need so that you can feel more assured while stepping into this unknown space. And all of that ultimately is a journey back to self. How can you celebrate yourself? How can you really take inventory of what you've done, the accomplishments that you've had over the last few months? The summer was a really beautiful season. Sure, we were stuck inside, or rather we weren't able to do a lot of the things that we've traditionally done in previous summers, but that's okay. Ultimately, it had such a beautiful gestation period within those eclipses, all of that work that came up for us during the summer. Now is the time where we get to apply and really use that to help us embody, to shape, to shift, to really come into who it is that we need to be, so that when this great fucking shift in planetary energy happens in December, we are ready, we're grounded, we are in our truth and ready to set those roots deep so we can rise up. And that is really the message that I got. So I hope that y'all got something out of it. If you didn't, cool. If you did, great. If you need me, I'm here all times. Feel free to send me a message. If you want a reading, if you want to just hang out, hold space, whatever, I'm here. Anyways, with that was the reading for the equinox, and I'll see you real soon. And I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful fall. Tschüss.